And in this video, I want to cover a pattern which comes from the early days of NLP called the 6-step reframe. And this is a really, really useful pattern that works with pretty much any real unconscious behavior. I've used it with all sorts of things from smoking to nail biting to sexual problems to teeth grinding. Is one of my favourite things to work with, teeth grinding, and also pain and things like that. It's a really, really useful tool to learn. It can be done in or out of hypnosis. The very process itself really creates hypnosis. So it's a really useful thing for you to learn. And it's one of those things, one of those tools that you can use for pretty much any behavior. And the basic premise behind it, which is behind a lot of NLP techniques, is that behind any behavior, there is a positive intention. Regardless of what behavior is, how destructive it seems to be, at some level, there is a positive intention behind it. And sometimes when I teach this, some people say, well, what about when someone's doing X? That's really destructive. And I agree, yeah, it could be really destructive to other people. It might at some level even be destructive to them, but there is always at some level a positive intention. And that's what the person really wants. They want the positive intention. They don't necessarily want the behavior, but they want the intention. And so if you can then generate alternatives, and so you still get the positive intention, then the mind is more than happy to pick a new way of achieving it, particularly if it's then beneficial to every part of the mind and body. So this technique, the 6-step reframe, is really, really powerful. It can be one of these techniques that goes really quickly. It can take a little bit longer with some other clients. I've had it where I've done the whole thing within a couple of minutes. Sometimes you have to pace the client and it takes a little bit longer. Really just depends on the individual client. Now the first step is you identify the unwanted behavior. So step 1 in the 6-step reframe, identify the unwanted behavior. Now, usually if there's clients coming in for a session, it's kind of obvious what that is, but it may be that you come up with some other things along the way. So step 1, identify the unwanted behavior. Step 2 is you contact the part of them that generates this behavior. Now, okay, this is where it starts sounding a little bit weird. Generate the part that generates the behavior. Well, here's the thing. If someone comes in and let's say they say, talk about teeth grinding, for example, and they say, look, I'm grinding my teeth at night, and I can't stop doing it. I've been to the dentist, I've been fitted with a gum shield, that hasn't worked, I'm grinding my teeth, and it's causing me all sorts of problems. So I'd pace them and say, okay, so you're grinding your teeth. Yeah. Okay, and I'm assuming you're not doing this consciously, are you? Well, no, of course I'm not. So if you're not doing it consciously, we kind of got to assume that there must be some part of you that's doing it, because obviously you're doing it, but you're not doing it consciously. So we must assume that there must be some part of you that's grinding your teeth. Does that make sense? Well, yeah, of course so. It has to. You know, there's if they're doing a behavior and they're not doing it consciously, it's kind of presupposed that there's another part of them that's doing that. So that's how you can start pacing it. And you say, great, okay, so there's some part of you that's grinding your teeth. Yeah, great. What I want you to do is just close your eyes. I want you to go inside and ask your mind, will the part of me that's grinding my teeth be willing to communicate with me in consciousness? And then you just wait. and you get the client to just pay attention to anything that happens. Pay attention to anything that they see or hear or feel. And you as the therapist, you pay attention to them as well, because quite often you will see the communication before the client's even aware of it. A classic example happened to me when I was working with someone with teeth grinding. I said, okay, well, the part of you that's creating the teeth grinding, would that be willing to communicate with you in consciousness? And I had them close their eyes, and I saw the muscles of the jaw start tensing. And I said, what happened there? And they said, well, my jaw just tensed right up. And I said, great, okay, I'd like you to ask the part, if that's a yes signal, I'd like you to increase it. And they went, yeah, it is, stop it. So straight away, we got a really powerful unconscious signal, not something that like a finger signal that they could fake themselves. We got a genuine signal. So the thing is, so you go ask them to close their eyes and go inside and ask, will the part of you that's doing this behavior be willing to communicate with you in consciousness? And then just have them to pay attention to anything they see or hear or feel. It could be smell or taste, but it's unlikely. And just have them pay attention. I've had people, and you see them, they go, what was that? I was nothing, it was just a picture of my mum. Okay, so ask that part, if that picture of your mum is a yes signal, to make that picture come up again. Oh yes, there it is again. So something like that. So you're paying attention to whatever happens, okay? So we contact the part that generates the behavior. Once we've got the communication, we've got a yes, then we go on to step 3. And that's to separate the intention from the behavior. So we now got communication with the part. We thank the part. Say thank you for communicating with us in consciousness. Now I'd like to ask that part, would it be willing to let you know in consciousness what its intention is behind this behavior? And again, you'll get a yes or a no. If you get a no, it doesn't matter. You've still got communication. But if you say, let's say it says yes, and he says yes, I say, great, okay, I want you to go ahead and let him, her, know what it is. What is the positive intention behind the behavior? And just let me know when you've got that. And they go, it's to protect me, or whatever. And if you get the no, then you say, okay, but you know what the intention is behind the behavior, is that right? Yes, great. Okay, are you willing to work with me? Yes, great. So most of the time you're going to get the intention. If you don't, it doesn't matter as long as the part knows the intention. Then we find 3 new ways of behaving to satisfy intention. So what we then do is say, okay, great. So now I know there's been times in your life where you've been really creative. So we could think that you have a creative part inside of you. I'd like you to contact that creative part, and I'd like that creative part to come up with 3 new ways of behaving that it feels are superior to what it had been doing. And when you've got those, let me know. So you just sit there and you watch what's happening. You can set it up with finger signals, so you could say, okay, each time you come generate a new behavior, just raise your finger to let me know. 1, a couple of minutes might go past, 2, great. 3, now you've got 3, great. So you've got 3 new ways of behaving. Now you can check with the client, say, what new behaviors are they? Sometimes the clients don't necessarily need to know, as long as the part has generated them. Now, it is important, if you're doing this, if the client has got access to those behaviours, just to check that the new behaviours will actually work. Let me give you an example of what could be an issue. Let's say the person, let's say they're a really heavy smoker, and the positive intention behind the behaviour is for them to relieve stress. Sounds really positive, isn't it? You know, want to relieve stress, really good idea. But then you go to the creative part, and the creative part comes up with 3 new ways of behaving, and one of those new ways of behaving to relieve stress is to go on holiday. Now, I agree, going on holiday is a really good way of relieving stress. You can't do that 20 times a day. Yeah, so you've got to make sure that the new behaviours not only will fulfill the positive intention, but are usable, and that they will work in the current situation. So, find 3 new ways of behaving. Why 3? Well, if you only come up with 2 new ways of behaving, you've got a bind. If you've got 3, you've got a choice. So you can go for more than that, but 3 is really all you need. Step 5. Have the original part, i.e. the part that's causing the problem, accept the new choices and the responsibility for generating them. In the future, whenever they're needed. So again, you go back to your original part. So, okay, part that wants the positive intention of security, whatever, would you be willing to now use one of these new ways of responding instead of the old way? And would you be willing to take responsibility for using that in whatever the context is? And again, you get yes. If you don't, you just cycle back and get some more choices, because it could be an objection to the choices. So if the part says, no, I'm not, I'll do that one, but I'm not doing that one, then you just go back to the creative part and say, look, can you generate another resource, another new choice? And then you go back and say, okay, would you be willing to use one of these 3 new choices instead of the old way in the future? And you get a yes. Then final, step 6 in the 6-step reframe is what's called the ecology check. And this is where you have the client go inside and say, okay, is it okay with every part of your mind and body to use these new ways of behaving instead of the old way from this moment on? Very, very rarely you'll get an objection from another part. If you get an objection from another part, so remember, this is not the part that's been generating the unwanted behaviour, because that's already agreed to do it, but you may get another part that objects in some way, then you pretty much go back and work with that and generate new choices that are acceptable to every single part. You have to, this is one of these things that like, scripts go out the window and you're working right there with the client, finding what will work for them. So that's how the 6-step reframe works. Again, you can do it in formal hypnosis. You can induce hypnosis, go through these steps, either do it with finger signals, have the client talk to you if necessary. But it's a really, really useful technique. The downside of it is it can become slow with some clients. So let me show you, instead of the 6-step reframe, the 1-step reframe. Now this one is done in hypnosis. So in this step, you do whatever you do normally, you've induced hypnosis, and you now talk about the concept of parts. You know, obviously you're here because you want to stop whatever it is, but yet you're still doing it. And so you're obviously not doing it consciously, so there must be some other part of you that's doing this thing. And from my experience, parts always have a positive intention. There's always a positive intention. Even though the behaviour may seem to be destructive, at some level, there's a really positive intention behind the behaviour. And I'm sure if you stop and think about it at a very deep level, there's a very positive intention behind this behaviour. So you've set up the concept of parts. You set up the concept that there's a positive intention behind the behaviour. So you're pacing all that with the unconscious mind. Then what you do is you lift one of their arms. Doesn't matter which one. So you lift their arm and get catalepsy. So you just lift their arms, and their arms sitting like that, and you say, and I'm not going to tell you to put it down any more quickly than your unconscious mind generates and begins to utilize 3 new ways of behaving that it feels is superior to what it had been doing in the past. So again, you lift the arm up, get catalepsy, and then say to them, so I'm not going to tell you to put that arm down any more quickly than your unconscious mind generates or begins to utilize 3 new ways of behaving that it feels is superior to what it had been doing in the past. And then you just sit and wait. So it's then the job of the mind to create the new alternatives and to take responsibility for doing them in the future. And when that hand comes all the way down, you're done. It's done it all. You've done it all unconsciously. So that's a way of doing it in hypnosis. And if time is an issue, that is something I would do. If I'm going really for a formal approach, I'll use the full 6-step reframe. If I've done a lot of other things and I just want to tag something in on the end, this is what I would do. And I quite often do something like this in the stop smoking session, because quite often I'm doing a heck of a lot else in that time. So really good way of using the reframing process quickly. So there you go, 6-step reframe and the 1-step reframe, something you can use with a variety of different issues. It's a really useful tool to have in your tool bag, and it'll just help you so many different ways. So if you want to know more about it, I highly recommend you read either the book Frogs into Princes or Solutions by Leslie Cameron Bandler, or even Transformations by Bandler and Grinder, or even Reframing by Bandler and Grinder. These are, if you're going to be in the therapy field, particularly in NLP, you've got to read those books. So go and buy those books. They're really worth it. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you know where to contact me on the website, either there or on YouTube or on my Facebook page. Until then, I'll see you soon.